Okay, well, turning to the issue of CEO succession, there's quite a few companies these days looking for a new leader. I'm talking about Bank of America, General Motors, as you know, also McDonald's. The heir apparent stepped down last week at the fast food chain owing to some health problems, an unexpected turn for that company. Our next guest works on CEO succession plans, and he says succession planning has picked up 400% in the last quarter. He's Nels Olson, the managing director of the Eastern region and senior client partner of board and CEO services at Korn Ferry International. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Betty.
Okay, so 400%. How do you calculate that figure? What does that entail?
Well, it's actually, when we looked at the numbers and did an assessment, it was pretty clear that over the last 2 years, there's obviously been dramatic things that have been happening in the market for CEO in the CEO space. And when we went out and surveyed the boards, it became pretty clear that there wasn't as much planning going into the process that there is now. And with things like the SEC getting more involved, and all the things that you're reporting on and that you're seeing in the press, boards are becoming much more attuned to the need for CEO succession.
So they're naming successors essentially, whereas before they left it open.
Well, I think not only naming it, I think what they're looking at is looking internally and externally for viable candidates and making sure that it's not just a one-time event and it's not a reactive process, but an ongoing process.
You mentioned the SEC, because I do want to get to that. The SEC possibly making this mandatory. Is that even, I mean, how real is that?
Well, I think what you see is obviously the SEC is reacting to what they're seeing from the public and from the shareholders. And it's obviously one of those things that they're wanting to see more transparency in the process. They're wanting to see that there's a thoughtful and thorough process that the boards are going through. And I think you're going to see more of it.
Now, there's a negative side to this because, Warren Buffett, for instance, famously does not want to name a successor. He says that it's not a good idea for companies to have a crown prince running around, or a crown princess if the woman is a leader, if the leader is a woman, to be walking around, that it takes the focus away from the company itself. I mean, that's the argument against that.
Yeah, well, I think it's important. I mean, you want to have confidentiality in the process, and it's a situation where I think the board needs to have thoroughly vetted the internal candidates and benchmark the external candidates so that they know if indeed the time comes that they need to make that transition, that they're ready. And so I do think, to Warren Buffett's point, you can actually have a very good sense of where you're heading, but not announce, because it can create issues.
Okay. Anything different this time around, the time that we have this time around with CEO searches? Anything different that you're seeing than, let's say, this last phase of when we did see a lot of CEOs step down, because of the economy, because of the recession?
Yes, well, I think you're obviously seeing a great deal more scrutiny. And whether it's in the press and the rest of the media, you're seeing a great deal more scrutiny on this. And the desire for accountability is obviously more important than ever. And so at the end of the day, I think the boards are feeling it, and they realize how vitally important this is.
Okay, Nels, good to talk with you on this. Certainly a subject we're following very closely on this program. Nels Olson of Korn Ferry.